Hey everybody, Ryan here at eTrailer. Today on our 2018 Nissan Kicks, we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install the Curt Trailer Hitch Receiver. When it comes to the Nissan Kicks, these are fun little cars to cruise around in and everything else, but the only problem is you don't have a ton of space on the inside. So if you want to do anything extra, a trailer hitch is really going to help you accomplish that. People like to go bike riding and things of that nature, so a hitch is going to let you use those type of accessories so you can get that done. And it's not just limited to that. You can pull some lightweight things, maybe like a kayak trailer or something similar. And matter of fact, today our customer is actually using it to pull a small taco trailer around, so almost like a little taco stand. So that's pretty cool, and putting a hitch on is going to allow her to do that. One thing I actually am pretty impressed with is how the hitch looks on the back of the Nissan. It actually does a really good job of blending in and kind of giving us a factory type appearance, For the most part, it's going to be completely hidden. Really, the only thing you're going to be able to see is a receiver tube opening. And one thing I do like as well is the fact that it has a reinforced collar here at the end. Honestly, I think that just makes the hitch look a lot more complete, and that's something you see on every smaller hitch similar to this one. So with this being a class 1 hitch, it is going to have that 1¼ by 1¼ receiver tube opening, and it's going to use the standard 1/2 inch size pin and clip. Keep in mind though, a pin and clip does not come included. If you need one though, you can grab it here at eTrailer. And we're going to have loop style safety chain openings, and those are going to be big enough to allow us to use pretty much whatever size hook we might have. As far as hitch's weight capacities go, it's going to have a 200-pound maximum gross tongue weight rating. So that's going to be the amount of weight that's pushing down on the hitch. So just to kind of give you an example, that's going to be good for those 1 and 2 bike racks. As far as the maximum gross trailer weight rating goes, that's going to be 2,000 pounds. And that's going to be the amount of weight that is pulling on the hitch. So it is the weight of the trailer plus anything that you might have on it. Now I do always like to suggest it's never a bad idea just to grab your Nissan's owner's manual. That way you can make sure your kicks can pull that much weight safely. Now let's go ahead and grab a couple of measurements. That way we can use these to help figure out which hitch mounted accessories to get. If we go from the ground to the top inside edge of the receiver tube opening, that's going to be about 12.5 inches. And if we go from the center of the hitch pinhole to the edge of our rear bumper, that's going to be about 5 inches. You can use that measurement to figure out that if any folding accessories you might have can be stored in an upright position without contacting your bumper. So at the end of the day, a hitch you really can't go wrong with. If you were to ask me, Ryan, would you put this hitch on your own kicks? Absolutely, would not hesitate without a doubt. You can hardly notice it's there, and it's going to get the job done. Now as far as the installation goes, really not too bad. There's a couple steps that you have to do and put a little extra time in, but as long as you stay focused, really shouldn't give you a whole lot of issues. Speaking of which, let's go ahead and do that together now. To begin our installation, we're going to be working underneath the back of our vehicle. First thing we need to do is get the exhaust lowered down. Prior to that, I like to take a strap and just run it from side to side. That way when we do go to lower our exhaust, it'll have a little bit of support and we can control how fast and how far we let it come down. We need to take off 2 rubber isolator hangers, which are holding our exhaust up currently. To get these off, you can spray them down with some soapy water to help lubricate them. And then we're just going to take a pry bar and pry one end off there. So on the back side of the muffler, here's the other hanger there. With it loose, we can loosen up our strap and let the exhaust come down a little ways. Now if we move over here to the driver's side on our frame rail, we're going to have a rubber plug. We need to pop that out, just use a screwdriver. Then we need to temporarily lower this canister here. So take a 12mm socket and pull this one bolt out. Kind of pull down on it, and this will just hang for the time being. Back over on the passenger side, we can get our heat shield out of the way. On each corner of it, we're going to have what's called the speed nut. Sometimes you can turn these by hand. Other times you can take a pair of pliers or something and break them loose. Or I have a 24mm socket, and I'm just going to pull them off that way. Once Once we have them all removed, we're able to lower the heat shield down and out of the way. Now we need to come to our frame rail, and I want to mention from this point on, whatever we do to this side, we're also going to do to the other side and be set up the same way. But we need to come to our forwardmost attachment, which is this hole right here, and we need to enlarge it just big enough that we can actually get our hardware up inside in the frame rail. So in order to do that, you could use a hand file. It'd probably take a little bit of time. So to speed things up, I'm going to use a die grinder bit here. So take some material out and stop occasionally and check and make sure you know, that it's big enough for our hardware to go up. So once we verify that our hardware will indeed fit, since we have some bare metal exposed here, I'm just going to come back with a little spray paint and cover that up to help protect any rust or corrosion issues. With the holes enlarged and our paint dry, now we can get our hardware in place, and to do that, we're going to use a fish wire. So what I like to do, we're going to be using this hole as our rear attachment point, and this is our front one. I like to take the coil in and eyeball it, put a bend in it there. We're going to take the end of the pull wire, push it through that hole, and now we can do some fishing. What we're trying to do is get that end to drop out of that opening. Sometimes you get lucky and it comes right out. Other times you might have to help it out along the way. But what you're going to do is take one of the spacer blocks, put that over one of your carriage bolts, get that threaded on. Then you can feed the hardware up one at a time. Get the spacer block through, push our carriage bolt up in there. And we can pull on our wire until it drops down. And we'll get the other hardware started in this one. This one's going to be a little different. We're going to reverse fish wire it. Take the coil in, put on your spacer block, and then just screw the carriage bolt to it. You're going to push the carriage bolt up in first, followed by the spacer block, until it drops down like so. Now we need to grab our heat shield and trim this out. So I just drew this, and there's a diagram, the instructions, some measurements you can follow. And to get this cut out, I'm just going to use a pair of 10 snips. And the reason that we're doing this is so it doesn't interfere with our hitch. With this all trimmed out, we'll go ahead and reinstall it the opposite way that we removed it. Now with the next set of hands, we can take our hitch and raise it into position. You're going to take the pull wires and drop them through the corresponding holes in the hitch. And we can go ahead and lift it on up. You may have to push up on this side, kind of get that heat shield to bend with the hitch. But once you have it in position, you're going to take a flange nut, and we want to get at least one started on each side hand tight. That way the hitch will support itself while we work on the rest of the bolts. Once you have all the hardware in place and hand tight, we'll come back with the 3/4 inch socket and snug it all down. Then you need to make sure to come back with a torque wrench and tighten down all of the hardware to the amount specified in the instructions. If you don't have a torque wrench, you can grab one here at eTrailer, or a lot of times you can go to your local auto parts stores and they'll have one there available to rent. At this point, we can go ahead, take our canister and reinstall that. Then we'll come back to our exhaust, re-lubricate the hangers, and simply rehang it. So I'm just doing this by hand, just pushing the rubber hanger back onto the metal portion. Once that's complete, we'll go ahead and remove our strap. And that'll finish up our look at and our installation of the Curt Trailer Hitch Receiver on our 2018 Nissan Kicks.